All right, I am going to call the meeting of the Easthampton Historical Commission to order. Today is February 12th, 2020, and the first order of business. First thing, welcome to everybody that's here tonight. This meeting is being recorded and will be televised. There will be an opportunity throughout the meeting for people to make comments and whatnot, but please don't speak until you're recognized by the chair, which is me. Next order of business, public speak. If anybody has anything to talk about that is not on the agenda tonight, they're welcome to speak right now. No one? Okay.
I don't think we have an agenda. We didn't get an agenda.
Oh,
Do you want me to photocopy this?
I can make copies for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like one too. Yes, be great.
all right, we'll pause for a second. And then we'll move right along. We have a sign-up sheet going around also. As soon as John is ready with that.
You guys can share. Okay.
Okay. First order of business is going to be the public hearing concerning the demolition of structures at 5 and 9 East Street. First thing let's see. Okay, here we go. This is the legal notice that was published. The Easthampton Historical Commission, in accordance with the Easthampton City Ordinance Chapter 4, Article 2, Demolition Delay. The Easthampton Historical Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, February 12th, 2020 at 6:45 in Conference Room B, 50 Payson Avenue, to deliberate on the application to demolish a historically significant building located at 5 and 9 East Street, Easthampton. Anyone interested or wishing to be heard on the matter should appear at the time and place designated above. Michael Serwick, Chair, Easthampton Historical Commission. Okay, first part is basically what we're going to do is we're going to have the applicant make his presentation, and then we will take comments from the committee and the public and take it from there. Okay, is the applicant here?
I am Rob Levasky's representative.
Okay.
But you couldn't make it. He had another meeting. I'm one of the owners of the property.
Okay.
And the idea is to put a dump in there. We had some plans, but we don't have the final plans. Is to take the two properties combined and put a Dunkin' Donuts with a drive-through.
Okay.
So I don't have any.
We don't have anything to see at this point.
I'm sorry?
We don't have any, there's no plans to look at it.
We have, but it's not final.
Okay.
It's not final.
Yeah.
We can send it over if you like.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't have anything with me. You didn't give me anything to present.
I got you.
Could you state your name for the record?
Emmanuel Sardina. S-A-R.
R.
D-I-N-H-A.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so the reason you want to take the properties down is because basically they're...
Yeah, it cannot be reusable for where we're planning on, for the use that we want.
Okay. All right. Anybody on the committee have any questions of the applicant at this point?
If it's, I'm sorry, if there's any...
You can go up here if you'd like.
Yeah, the idea is, and we own other properties. We have Duncans in Northampton, Haydenville,
Yeah.
Westfield, and It's not to put a Dunkin', a box like we did on Damon Road, for an example. The idea is to do something like we did in Haydenville, something that would fit on the area, instead of just a box with orange and, you know, and Dunkin' on it.
Right.
So if it's,
Okay, thank you. You know, the biggest reason we're here is to determine whether the building itself could be historically preferably preserved. It's a significant building at this point because it's over 50 years old. It is included on an inventory that was done of the Mountown district.
It's 100 years old.
And, yeah, its building's about 100 years old. So, I mean, that's basically what, you know, we would need to determine if it would be something that somebody should, you know, we should actually preserve or not, whether it's worth doing. And, you know, of course, at this point, we're going to need a little bit more information. Any questions here? Any questions in the?
And to do a walkthrough, to see the structures in person.
Okay, well, I'll have to make a motion.
Okay, well, that's a thought.
Okay,
Are they gonna demolish the house and that, whatever they wanna call that there? It used to be my uncle's plumbing shop, so.
okay.
The garage.
5 and 9. Yeah, 9 is.
So both of them are gonna be
the garage.
demolished?
Yes.
All right, and so where's the entrance and exit gonna be coming off of?
Where the garage is today.
So everybody's gonna come and go off of East Street?
Yes.
Good Lord Almighty. Phew, that's terrible.
Yes.
I'm curious if, you know, if it's decided that the building isn't of historic value and isn't going to be preserved on those grounds, is there any other public recourse to discuss this action? Or is that sort of the only line of like, here, maybe we could save the building because of historic reasons? Like, are there other grounds for
not tearing it down?
not necessarily whether it gets torn down, but for what happens with the property, whether it turns into a Dunkin' Donuts?
Oh, well, the only, I think, recourse we would have if it was determined to be a historical site or something like that, and that would probably be one of the reasons you could, you know, preserve the property in a certain way. The building itself, if it's found to be preferentially preserved, then we would actually look for somebody that would buy it and
Maintain it.
you know, yeah, restore it or whatever, you know. So, I mean, basically at this point, we could institute a 6-month delay with, you know, it's basically the extent of our powers. And then we'd look for, you know, somebody that would come in and maybe take it over or whatever.
Okay.
Yes?
I had 2 questions. The first was, do you have any current like records or knowledge of exactly how old the building is, or is that
It's
something
100
that
years
needs to be,
old.
like, exactly 100? Like how
It was
is
built
that?
in 1920.
Got it. And the second question I had was with regards to the proposed replacement building, which is obviously something I'm quite curious about, is how would I find out? Like, I think it was, you said that it would look like the Haydenville?
yes. It's on right on Route 9, across from the town hall. I don't know if you've been up that way.
No.
So you're saying aesthetically, it doesn't look like your typical Dunkin' Donuts? It looks
Does
more
not.
like a house or
A
something?
colonial, yes, colonial building. The one up there, it has columns in the front. I can actually probably take it, I have a picture, show a picture.
I guess my ultimate question would be if there are any kinds of blueprints, schematics that I would be able to see to get before the thing gets built, to know like, oh, this is going to have huge lights, or it's going to what?
That would be probably the planning board.
Right, I'm Jeff Bagg, I'm the city planner. I think there was a question earlier that was about this process, which is the determination about the building itself, and then things related to the future use, what it looks like, where the entrance is, parking, lighting, is all something that would be a special permit from the planning board. So this process can kind of run.
I'm sorry, what does that mean?
So you seem to be asking about input, your opportunity for input on a Dunkin' Donuts proposal. So there's another board in town, the planning board, who will, if the applicant chooses to make, the applicant has not submitted an application for the special permit yet. So when and if that gets submitted, then property owners within 300 feet will be notified in the mail of a different hearing of a different board who's gonna deal with all the things associated with Dunkin' Donuts. So this board only deals with the building and potentially the property
I
vicinity.
see. I was not aware of that, thank you.
Okay. Yes,
Does everybody
can-
know
can- one
what the
thing.
historic-
Can you state
Oh.
your name, because we are filming.
Bonnie Harrison. I was born and raised on East Street. Does everybody know what the historic thing about that garage is?
Was it a railroad?
It used to be a cable. There was a big motel up on the hill, and they'd get off on the train by Dorman's, which was a stopping place. That's where our mail came in. The train would hook it up on the hooks and everything. And then they would walk up to that little place right there, that little garage, catch a cable car and go up or come down, and then back to the train. So that's what I'm thinking the historical thing is, but there are a lot of young ones here, so I didn't think they knew what it was, why it was being considered historical besides being 100 years old.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes?
I think just for potentially reference that the commission has materials associated with this area of
Right.
East Street. Maybe you could just talk about that briefly, and then
Yep.
are they available for other people who are interested?
Yes, they are. Okay. Yeah, we have the MACRIS database, which is the Massachusetts Cultural Resource Information System. And any places that have been inventoried, usually buildings that are over 50 years old. Some of the inventories were done a while ago, so that's kind of a loose definition right now, but the whole area of Mount Tom from basically about 130 down to Route 5 has been inventoried as a district. And there's a pretty good history on the area and the houses and other structures, objects, sites that are included there. You can actually access this information online. I don't have, oh, right here, okay. It's at http://mhc-macris.net. And you can actually locate the Easthampton in there, and if you look for Mount Tom, you'll find this whole report, which runs probably a good 30 pages with photos and whatnot. Unfortunately, I don't believe the garage is mentioned in there at all, so I don't know if it was an oversight or they just didn't, probably an oversight.
Well, I know from the garage, my uncle bought it, and he was running a plumbing business, and he used to sell flagstones.
Right.
And then it was sold. When he passed away, my aunt sold it. And I'm guessing to the present owner, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember changing hands very much, so. Okay. Anybody from the committee have any questions? Any motions you want to make?
Well, I would like to make a motion to view both structures, the house and the garage,
Okay.
to do a walkthrough.
So we have a motion to take a walkthrough of the both structures sometime in the next couple of weeks or
Anytime, yeah.
whatever. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Tracy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Could we see the applicant make a date with you to be able to walk through the property?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks.
and yes,
I'm just curious what the process is for actually deciding, whether it is or is not of significance enough to preserve.
well, basically look at the property as far as the age, the significance as far as the architecture, whether it's an unusual type of architecture or something that you don't see too much of, and then anything that maybe happened there or somebody that lived there or whatnot. There's pretty much three different criteria that you're looking at.
So if you as a board decided, yes, it seemed like it had those characteristics, would you make an application to some other government agency to have that determined, or like, how does that work?
If it's found to be preferentially preserved, then we would contact the Mass Historical Commission and ask them for some help as far as, locating somebody that would want to preserve it or whatever. Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right. Anybody else? Yeah. Your name?
My name is Andrew Sexton,
Okay.
and I guess my follow-up question from that would be, if no one could be found who is interested in preserving it, what then?
The applicant, it would be a demolition delay for 6 months. At the point, after 6 months, if he makes a concerted effort to either find somebody to buy the property and rehabilitate it or not, and after the 6 months, as long as we're satisfied that he did made an effort.
Due diligence.
Due diligence, and yes, he'd be able to tear it down at that point.
I see. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, if there's any other questions or comments? Jeff?
Sorry. I was going to offer to post that packet of materials so each committee in town has its own sort of webpage. So as of tomorrow, I think I could post that so it's a little bit easier to reach. So it'd be through the city's website and the historical commission. We're doing it with other applications. If the planning board applications are posted online, we just don't have enough people to always do it. But I think in this case, that's pretty straightforward and post that, so it's a little easier to get to. And then I think just in terms of a process to continue the hearing to another date. So you had suggested maybe some more additional information. You have not actually received anything. So would you talk about what you would do after the site visit? Would you pick a date and time and come back to your next meeting or something?
Yeah, it would probably be at the next meeting. So we need to find a date in between those times where we could do the site visit and gather whatever information, photos and whatnot that we would want to see, ask the questions, and then come back, which would be March, whatever, probably the 11th, and continue the hearing at that point.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Would you like to see the site, where we plan on doing on a site? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, site visit, yeah.
And maybe a sketch of what the building's gonna look like?
Sure, yeah, whatever information that you feel is appropriate to, for us.
We'll be able to provide both at that time.
Great.
And about the walk through the property, would you like to set up a time now, or I can leave my information, contact? I don't know, how would be the easiest way to, pretty flexible, I mean.
Actually, we probably have the least flexibility here with all our different members, so, probably leave your information with him. We don't have to post it anyways.
Okay.
As far as, because it'll be, if a quorum shows up, then it'll be a meeting, so. That would probably be the best way to proceed. If there's any other, Bonnie?
Yeah, just real quick. There was already somebody digging in the backyard. What were they digging out or doing?
I don't know.
That was test bits.
A what?
Soil tested?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I saw them equipment out there.
Have your soil tested number 9 East Street? I saw number 5 being tested, but not number 9.
It's, the junk is still moving the property, the stuff out. We're not testing, so we're just testing the grounds to find out for the storm water system for the parking lot, so for the drains. We need to find out if the soil, what kind of soil we have there, if it's clay, if it's ledge, if it's sand, and depending on that, there's calculations that go into and decide the size of the system for the parking lot to be able to handle the rain.
Okay. Any last questions, comments? No? Well, at this point, I think, pending further information, we want to continue this hearing, so we get a motion for that.
Make a motion to continue this hearing.
Second, okay. All in favor, yea? Say, we'll continue the meeting till March 11th. All right, thanks for everybody that showed up. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or come back on the 11th. There's a sign-up sheet going around?
Yeah, the sign-up sheet's here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll have Jamie contact you and connect the.
Okay. Next order of business is the approval of the January minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Second, okay. All in favor? Hey. Correspondence, if any. Well, the only, actually, what I do have for correspondence, and all this stuff got mixed up here. Jamie sent me, I think sent everybody that list of the different buildings.
How's it feel now?
He's also asking for comments before our next meeting, so
Is that the?
I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at it. Just bring
Good,
that
it was a side
email
one.
to.
That seems like this.
Like way too many pages.
When I got that rock in my left.
I remember it was very painful. It was very painful.
No, I just took her anyway. Did they have to reset it or anything, or did they just let it? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So sorry.
Be in touch. And we'll actually add that for before we adjourn to
There was
set
some
up
kind of sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a sign-in sheet.
Yeah.
or give me multiple times, and probably the best way to do it. What do you think, John?
Yeah.
How are you? Keep you busy?
Yeah, more than a little.
It's not bad, though.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you need a hand at all?
Oh, no, I'm good, thank you.
I'm gonna put it in here. It's gotta be like loose because it came with the other papers. But, well, here it is. All right.
Well, I'm glad a lot of people knew about it.
Yeah. Okay, first thing was the 208 Park Street, special permit for a major home occupation. This is under correspondence, so. Psychotherapy practice, craniosacral therapy, and private.
Craniosacral?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what is the?
This is a zoning ordinance.
Oh,
They're
to
just
change
looking-
it from residential to business? Is that what you mean?
Well, I think they need a special permit to operate something like that out of their home, probably. Not exactly sure.
And what would it change them? Would it then become a business? His own business at that point? Like, could it then turn into?
I don't know that answer.
Okay, I'm just curious. Then it could be a garage after that.
Can you get 108 on there?
Yeah.
And so we can take a look, at least, I didn't look at that one.
Did you say 108 or 208?
208, I'm sorry. Next one's 108.
Oh, okay. Oh, also Clark Street?
No, this is Park.
Oh, that's Park.
How far down would that be coming up?
This one? Not sure. I don't know what the numbers on Park are, so,
Because it's a similar use of a home.
I mean, I think it's farther. It might actually be the brick farmhouse. It's pretty far up.
208 Park Street?
Because, it's that one. Wait a minute. It's 208 Park.
Sometimes it gets it wrong, but that's what it
What's
says.
next
it is.
door? Okay, all right. I mean, it's just after Whitebrook. I think Whitebrook's 200. Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't think it's 50 years old.
No.
Okay, so I don't believe there's any issue there. So no comment. Any other comments or anything that you want to throw at them? The next one is 106, 108 East Street, which is Gary and Sandra Campbell, seeking a variance to the lot size requirement for a two-family residence. They were, when the town and the owner
We're basically just bystanders.
subdivide, or, they're giving the property to Kestrel and to the city. They made a mistake, and they're like a couple thousand square feet short for a legal lot. So instead of holding that whole thing up, they just want a variance. I don't see any issue that we have with that.
For the greenhouse.
Duplex.
Yeah. So what do they want to do with it?
Well, they're selling it, but they can't close because it's not a conforming lot. So they just want a variance to say that this is okay.
Okay.
Which is okay with me. And then we got Matthew Gall at 118 Union, seeking a variance to the side yard setbacks and special permit to reconstruct a pre-existing non-conforming
Sorry, Mike, can you
Yeah,
give
that's-
the address again there? And I didn't get any of those details on this.
118 Union.
118 Union.
And you said that's Matt Gall.
Matt Gall, yeah.
And the request was what?
Variance to the variance to the side yard setbacks. The only thing, I didn't look at that one either, so I'm not really sure where that property is.
I just tried to look it up and it didn't really know. This look right?
Where are you?
108 East Street?
Reading Southampton?
Oh, you're right, Southampton.
Well, it doesn't help.
No.
No, 108, 106, 108 East is, it's just a small lot.
Here we go.
Thank you. Yeah.
That lot right there, right? Yeah.
Well, no, actually, if you go, what they did was just to the right of that, right there,
Yeah.
we have it now, is going to be city property, right?
Right. We bought
Okay,
that.
so when they did the back property line,
Yeah.
they didn't go quite back far enough,
Oh.
only by 20 feet or something like that.
Oh.
So they want a variance instead of having to redo the whole thing, which makes sense. I mean, it's 37,000 square feet now. It needs to be 40. It's not a lot. I mean, it's, and it's going to be preserved property. It's not like, they're going to be, they won't build anything up there anyways. And the last one was 118 Union, which I'm taking a look at. That actually may be hurry scurry.
It is.
It is.
What do they want to do?
What's that?
Finally.
That's the front of it.
They heard me asking about it all the time.
Yeah. So it's just reconstruct a pre-existing non-conforming non-residential structure, so variance on the side yard setbacks.
Reconstruct, meaning renovate?
We have to go to a planning meeting for that. They just want to know if we have any comments on it before they get to that point. That one, I don't know. Do we have any comments on it?
I don't think it's on the historic register.
Yeah, my comment is hurry up.
Don't scurry.
Scurry up.
Okay.
Scurry about.
All right.
Hurry and scurry.
I don't believe there's much interest as far as historical
On the
building.
building's done.
I'm not sure what he's thinking.
Trashed. And it wasn't danger of, it wasn't anything special to begin with.
No.
The building isn't worth saving.
I think.
The hurry scurry.
Well, if you can rebuild it, that's fine. I mean, it's not like it's,
Oh, yeah.
it's any great shakes anyways.
I think rebuild should be in quotes, because
Okay.
I don't think you can say it. Okay.
Item number 6. Oh, there's no other, I think there was any other correspondence. If there was, it was not very significant. Item number 6, hi, we're back. The next one is finding of historical significance for the smokestack at 116 Pleasant Street. Has everybody taken a look at that at all?
116 Pleasant?
116 Pleasant.
I have not looked at that.
You want to join us, Jeff?
I wanted to just understand, that's why I was hoping to hear this discussion, just to hear it.
You can come.
No, it's okay, I'll sit here. It's good on that. I don't need to join you. It's good.
Jamie does.
Thank you.
Did we even talk about that?
What's
The
that?
smokestack?
No, it just came up.
That came up recently.
Yeah, it came up since last meeting. They want to tear it down. So I do have a demo permit on that. The buildings are inventoried, and obviously Smokestack is part of the inventory, yes. Whether or not it's significant, or, should we allow them to tear it down? That's a good question.
Just want to make sure this is behind Eastwards, right?
Yeah.
What's the
It's the
reason
only,
for tearing it down?
what's that?
What is the reason for tearing it down?
I don't know.
Is it this one or this one?
No, it's the other one.
I am in no way speaking for the owner.
I have the application here, maybe it's,
What I understood was that it is in disrepair,
yeah.
but I don't know what level of disrepair, but that's part of my understanding of whether.
It's not one being used as a cell tower.
No, that's the other one, the other friend. I don't know if it's the Paragon building that far.
Yeah, the next one.
Yeah.
There's one further down, it's the old Stanley Home Products, the power plant there. Not real familiar with exactly what it looks like. I think at this point, instead of saying yes or no, we should probably at least take a look at it, and we can give them a decision next time around whether it's significant or not.
Do that the same day?
Yeah.
Big field trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that, yeah. That'd be pretty good.
I can't get a view of it from the Google.
I can get a hold of Will Bundy and have, speak with him about it too, and get a little more information. I mean, if it's fallen down, then they can let us know with an engineering report or something like that it has to come down. I don't, it's part of the character of the building, whether, significant or not, I don't know. It's one that's, some of these are very,
Should ask Mass Historic. Chimneys are considered.
Here it is, right here. I think. What's that? Oh, let's see. This is the application for the demo permit, I believe, demolition. Demolition and removal of a 120-foot smokestack down to chimney base.
Chimney,
That's what they say.
what does that mean?
Well, basically down to the ground. I believe it's on a concrete pad.
But it's not being used.
It is no longer being used, right? That power plant has been like those big boilers have been totally shut down, and they have smaller ones in there now. They obviously don't need the smokestack. They laid off all the guys shoveling coal too.
When was that?
Last week.
Well, I will throw it out there that if it's not being used, it has to be maintained or it becomes a potential hazard.
Yeah.
And if they're not using it, then I guess what reason do they have for spending money to maintain it?
Right.
Don't want it to become like the
And,
building in
well,
Hollywood.
Yeah.
This past, you mean this week?
no utilities. Yeah, they don't really say much as to why they want to tear it down. It's just that they want to tear it down. So I think, at this point, I think we need a little more information. We get a motion on that? Or can we just table that till next time? So we want to do a site visit, right? All right. Oh, yeah. The next item, I don't think I talked to you about this, did I? I talked to Jane. Request for appropriation. And while you're here, we can run it by you too. Pioneer Valley Planning came up with that $2,000, $3,500, $5,000 levels of technical support, basically, and whatnot. I know we get the free 15 or whatever, right? 15 hours.
Yes.
One of the questions I just wanted to ask of the committee, and you know, even you here, how you feel about it, is whether the historical commission should ask for a budget item of like $2,000, so we can do inventories as we need them and whatnot. What are your feelings?
My feelings are probably different than what may be realistic or feasible.
Yeah.
I should say. My understanding of the budget is that it's very tight. So putting in a request of some sort is totally fine. The potential for it to get actually funded seems low. From my understanding, even so last year budgets got slashed. This year we're being asked to keep them exactly the same.
Slash, yeah.
If it can't happen this year, things do look up. Maybe not. The projection I understood was this year and next year are very tight. After that is when some of the newer tax revenue, some of the projects that we're seeing happen actually come through the general fund. So potentially asking for it is certainly an option, or continuing to pursue the DLTA. 15 hours work with PVPCs, that's certainly something the commission should continue to talk about and come up with the projects that you'd like to ask them for assistance with. That would be the potential fallback.
I mean, this could also be a instead of a budget item, just ask for the money if we find we really need it or really want something that's worthwhile.
Right. The budget, we are in the budget process now, so I don't know for the commission or like another committee, I don't know the process.
Right. Either.
To seek some kind of allocation. So that's something I can certainly ask about and then kind of relate. Like I said, I think Jamie's going to be the person who continues to assist the historical commission on technical things. I'm just here because she was away. But I in terms of my position in the department, I'm happy to inquire about the process. The key thing I would be asking is if it's still an option for this coming up budget,
Right.
or whether that timeline is passed. So that I don't know.
You know, I would at least, I'm not really worried about getting it for the next budget, but it would be at least getting it out there.
Sure.
And, you know, kind of keeping it out there.
I mean, the other thing that's kind of occurring to me is if you had clarity on the type of project you were, I think there might be another approach, which is potentially, and I'm kind of speaking out of turn, but there potentially is option through CPA
Right.
to support the work of the Historic Commission. And so that might be, if a line item on a budget may not work, there's, you know, CPA has certain amounts of funding available for historic preservation, and I think if you had the right type of project, you could certainly seek funding. I think that you're getting the match, you're getting some of the funding for the inventory from CPA, correct?
Right, yeah.
So I think that should always be a line of thought. If you could formulate the project,
Right.
the cost, and then seek CPA funding to assist.
You know, that probably wouldn't be that hard to do as far as now, you know, as long as, once we start something going, you know, people, I think, get a little more focus as to what we want to do.
Right.
And so, yeah, it'd be easier to, the next time, asking for them and, you know.
Do
Right.
we have any budget at all?
No, I don't think we get it done.
We used to. We used to have a budget.
$15.
No, I think it was as high as 25 or 40.
Yeah, it's somewhere around, it was like $35 or something like that.
Yeah, and the planning department can do certain things. You know, we have the ability to do certain things to assist the historic commission with by just absorbing it through staff time or things like that.
Like the legal notices and.
Right, legal notices are, you know, statutorily required, so that's a process that we have built where we have a legal ad fund, we get money from applicants and then we replenish, it's a revolving account. That stuff's pretty normal. I'm not aware of any, you know, other than CPA, there's no other permitting body that has any kind of budget. And there's another, you know, Commission on Disabilities that's been asking for funding, not a lot, but it's not getting funded.
Yeah.
Just because of the sort of this mandate for level
I
spending.
mean, you know, I get the tight budgets and all that. I was just, as I was reading their little ad that they were sending out,
Yeah.
and like, you know, somewhere down the road, this is probably not a bad idea to just have that, you know, even $2,000 for whatever many hours it is to, you know, we got a project, you can give them a call down there and, hey, listen, we need help with this.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's all. Not going to be devastated if she says no. All right. I mean, at this point, I mean, does anybody have any feelings about it, or?
About the budget?
Yeah, if we're asking for money. Not so much, you know, how the budget is, but us having a budget.
Would be nice in helping dealing with our file system and all too.
Yeah.
Well, as the CPA rep, I would definitely say, you know, if we had something that was a project that needed a person for, you know, let's say 20 hours for 3 weeks or something, I do think the CPA would be supportive of that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's where you need to have the project in hand, though.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it would need to be a formal application.
Yeah, okay, it's fine. I mean, we could table it for now and, you know, look at it coming up next year, and as long as we keep it out there, that, you know, that it's available if, you know, or it's, you know, we should ask. I don't know how far along in the budget process are we now anyways. Far enough where it's gonna be like, wait a minute.
That is my concern, is that, so for the planning department, I have a meeting tomorrow, and then it goes to city council subcommittee meeting soon.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I don't know, I don't know. I'm
There's
not
probably
that
not
in
enough
that
time to
process, but-
really, you know, lobby for it anyways. And like I said, I don't have anything that's, you know, real, you know, important right now. It's just a thought that I say, like, you know, is it something maybe we should look at? You know, so we won't get any in trouble, although they are recorded. So. Okay, so yeah, why don't we, anybody have any comments as far as, you know, Want to keep it on our view somewhere down the road?
We can always ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can get turned down many times, but we can always ask.
Well, that's basically it.
Well, I would say, I mean, I don't want to, I guess, if you don't have clarity on what you would use it for, because I don't think it's just asking. I think you have to put together a package, a proposal, and it's going to go through the full process. So I think if you formulate a project need and I think then I think you would have potentially more of a chance. But then also if you get a slightly larger project that you actually need to accomplish, you set goals for the project, and then I think CPA might be, a cleaner, more accessible option.
It's a good point.
But that's coming from, I don't know how a committee would seek some appropriation, but I think it's more than just, I think that we'd have to put together some rationale.
Well, I think, I'm just thinking, is this worth looking into? I think that's the, and I think the answer is yes. Will we get it? Probably not, but it's always worth it. And like you said, CPA and also, John has said, if we do have something like, we really need to do some inventories on a certain part of town or some certain houses that aren't covered by what we're sort of going for in the grant. We need $2,000 go to the CPA for it. Mm-hmm. And then we can get Pioneer Valley Planning to come in and help us with it. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, item number 8. Oh, it's still early. This is great. I was looking at this going, this is going to take us till midnight. We did I have everything numbered here. Okay, this was the, backing up one more thing here, one more time. This was the letter from Pioneer Valley Planning and Historic Preservation Planning. You saw this, right?
I've seen it before, I didn't see it this year.
So basically what they're saying, we would like to offer specialized historic preservation planning supported through contracts of $2,000, $3,500, and $5,000. So it's 25 hours, 45 hours, and 65 hours approximately, as needed. And they have some, ideas on how that would break out or what the projects might be. Anybody wants to look at this, you're more than welcome to. Now, number 8. Sorry about that. Where's my agenda? Okay, this is the Northampton New Haven Canal. So on January 22nd, we have a letter from the mayor to Kimberly Robinson, the executive director at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. The City of Easthampton is requesting district local technical assistance funding from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission in collaboration with the towns of Southwick, Southampton, and Russell, and the cities of Westfield and Northampton for a project to facilitate the documentation and preservation of the Hamden, Hampshire portion of the New Haven Northampton Canal, which is regionally significant historic cultural resource. Beginning work towards a collaborative documentation supports Easthampton Community Development Strategy 2019 to 2024, which states that protecting key historic and cultural resources through reuse, recognition, and protection will contribute to the long-term maintenance of Easthampton's community character. It has also been noted that in some areas of the proposed survey work, evidence of the canal, as well as those who know the history of the canal, are vanishing, and now is the time to document this important piece of local and regional history. The city is requesting that the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission facilitate this regional effort to develop an overall scope of services and cost estimate towards preparing a request for proposal to hire a consultant or agency that specializes in documentation to meet the standards of the Massachusetts Historical Commission and the National Park Service. Full documentation of the Massachusetts portion of the canal is a requirement of the MHC for formal submission to the Massachusetts Cultural Resource Information System, and to request the determination of eligibility for the National Register of Historic Places. The Connecticut portion of this canal, the Farmington Canal, is currently listed on the National Register. Signed, sincerely, Nicole LaChapelle, Mayor, City of Easthampton. So Jamie actually put this together with the object of the project purpose, the type of assistance we're looking for, so I don't know if there's any date to hear back on this. Do you know anything about this?
Yep, we reviewed that and certainly wanted to sign on and try to participate. So my understanding of the PVPC process is that that was an application or a request to use some of their DLTA funds for that project. I don't think there has been a decision on that yet. So I think ideally, hopefully by their next meeting, we can report back whether so it's a group at PVPC decide which projects they fund, and so hopefully by your March meeting we should know if that was a project that was funded.
Awesome.
I think it's just my objective with a lot of the grants is to try for as many as possible, and just get a lot of the things going that are important for each kind of various topic. So that seemed very meaningful. So
Yeah.
it's a no cost, so it's more just participating and as the
Yeah. The timing on it was like uncanny. Last month, the guy sitting here comes from Public Speak, and he's from the Canal in Southwick. And Shannon was here to talk about it too, besides the other things, which is kind of like, whoa.
That's good.
So it's good.
With thanks to you and Jamie.
Yeah, I think it made total sense to opt into that group. to
Yeah,
look at that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So the other thing, number 9. I was discussing this with Jamie actually, because we kind of miss things every now and then, things that demos haven't really happened. Those have been pretty good. But technically, like anything that's inventory, if they do more than like 25% of a demo on it, we should actually be taking a look at it also. And so we're talking whether we should send a letter to the building and the planner regarding notifications of any projects.
That makes it great.
So
A lot of sense.
I know Jamie was kind of on top of it for the last thing, so that's why we had those comments on those properties there. So I think we need a motion to draft a letter.
I make a move that we draft a letter to
I second that motion.
A letter to
notify
notify the planning and
the building inspector that we should be notified of any projects that are affecting buildings which are on our register.
Okay. So we have a motion to send a letter regarding any notification of any projects to the planning and the building inspector regarding demos and partial demos. And on any inventory, well, actually not even all inventoried, some that aren't either. I would like to include that. All right, we have a second from...
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will draft a letter.
May I ask you a question for clarification? Where you seem to describe something that's more than 25% demolished, or I can imagine parts of a renovation or something like that. But
Yeah.
where is that? Where does that come from? I'm just curious because I, as part of the process to facilitate making sure that things are properly routed through.
Yeah.
Is that a definition somewhere?
Well, it's kind of, best practice in other cities, so I'm trying to, which is coming up here, to kind of work on the demo delay plan and the I know it's not in our demo delay, and that's kind of some of the things that I want to get in there. I'm not sure exactly where I saw it, but I did read it somewhere. It's probably some other city. So I was looking at a bunch of different ones. But I think it's a good idea. You know, it's just prior to any even partial demolition, like if they're taking a roof off and doing like an upstairs addition, at least we could go and get some photos of what it looked like beforehand and whatnot. Not to say that we're going to say, no, you can't do it. It's just that, you know, we should, this way we can kind of record what neighborhoods used to look like, you know, in that.
Right.
That's kind of my thought on that. I don't see us shutting anybody down or anything, but just to be able to kind of know that, you know, some kind of, you know, and well, the thing is, you could have a historic building and all of a sudden they're knocking down. I mean, I've seen it before where they couldn't demo the house. This happened in Northampton. So they ended up building like a structure behind it, and then they tore down the house in front of it after the building was already put in place. So, you know, what are you going to do? You can't, you know, deny them a building permit at that point because it's already built. You know, and your recourse has been, so at least if you know about it, then, you know, you get to have some input into it. All right. Document scanning project. I wrote a letter for Barbara. I don't really feel like reading it.
That's okay.
Want me to read it?
Sure.
Dear Mr. Rist, the Historical Commission recently met with the Easthampton City Clerk, Barbara LaBombard, to discuss the state of the city's record retention program. At this time, records from different departments are stored in various locations around town and are not cataloged, so that historically significant records may be overlooked and cannot be readily accessed. Ms. LaBombard proposes that a comprehensive survey of the archived records be done by a third party to ascertain what should be retained and what can be disposed of. This initial survey will give us a sense of what we have for records and recommendations for future steps to identify, retain, preserve, and have easier access to these important documents. The Historical Commission feels that the city's records are very likely to contain many documents that are significant to the history, architecture, and culture of Easthampton. Taking the initial step to survey what records are being kept in storage and receiving recommendations on how to proceed is important and worthwhile. Therefore, we unanimously support this request. Thank you for your consideration, Michael C. Serwich. Serwich. Very nicely written.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 11, we have the fiscal year 2020 survey and planning grant. We got the application out on Thursday, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
We'll take a bathroom break.
What's that? Okay. Would anybody like a granola bar? Got a whole box of them.
I'll take one.
You want one?
All right. You're not kidding.
How'd you come to have a box of them?
It's a long story.
Thank you.
Not really, you want one?
Why not? Thanks.
Yep, you want one for later?
I'm all set, thank you. Thanks.
Tomorrow? Yeah. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock you're gonna be going. I should have grabbed one of those yesterday.
I know.
I pack a lot of snacks when I go.
Yeah, I bet. All right, so the application's in Boston. With basically the draft pretty much wasn't really changed very much. So hopefully we'll hear something. When is that? March 10th or something like that, I think.
Day before the meeting. Is that when that's when
That's
they
when
make their
they'll-
decisions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere right around there.
Hmm.
Looking forward to that. Okay, demo delay bylaw. Another question for you. It's a good thing you're here today. Did you see the legal opinion about the demo delay bylaw?
I read it initially and briefly,
Okay.
but that was quite some time ago from what I recall.
Yeah.
So no, I don't recall what it said.
Well, the question was whether we could re-up on them, extend it. And I was kind of thinking like, I doubt it. Just, because what would be the purpose of having a 12-month delay or an 18-month delay if you could take a 6 and re-up it 3 times? It's the same thing. And Mark Tanner, city attorney, his opinion was no, that we couldn't. And
That we couldn't re-up it? Or that-
right, yeah. And we went through this ways back. I'm just kind of, I would abide by this as far as that goes. So I don't really want to get any kind of, the city in any kind of legal, tangles. I don't really think it's, at least at this point, unless there was some really significant building that they wanted to tear down, then there might be, but I think we would go about it a different way instead of trying to re-up, I guess the only cases where you have an issue would be where somebody wants to tear something down for really no reason except that they don't really want to pay taxes on a structure or something along those lines. Or they, you put a delay on it and they just ignore doing anything else, and then, in 6 months they want to tear it down.
Mm-hmm.
Without doing any kind of due diligence to try to, either move the building to somebody else that would be willing to restore it or whatever. So that being said,
Well, intentional demolition by neglect.
neglect, right?
Yeah, we've had that.
I mean, those are some of the things that we want to address as far as this. But
My comment was just, we were looking to have some kind of teeth
right.
to the, right now, as far as I can tell, to be honest, we say, please don't do that. 6 months later, they said, yeah, I tried.
Yeah.
And then everybody goes, shrugs, and they tear it down. That's pretty pitiful. That's really not adequate.
Well, I guess my question would be around my understanding, and so Jamie and I, meet frequently enough, but I don't know all the details. So, did you access any of the LTA hours from the Planning Commission to prep for the inventory?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, wasn't there a discussion about potentially trying to use LTA hours to continue to work on the ordinance? Or has that been discussed? Because what I'm hearing, and I've heard sort of that you, as a commission, have been looking at the demo delay ordinance for some time, and I was...
Yeah, we really haven't moved on it at all.
Yeah.
This is kind of one of the first pieces that I wanted to get clarified.
Right. That would be...
We still have kind of a difference of opinion on this.
Okay.
I don't really want to have to test it.
No. I don't think that type of project, working on the ordinance, would really suit CPA funding, but I think the LTA funding, that seems like a pretty important thing to continue.
That probably wouldn't be till summertime anyways. I think we used it up for the most part.
In my understanding, I guess that's what I can try to help clarify, is I thought that you could access multiple LTA
Oh, really?
funding per
Okay.
year. And I think that would be the sort of line of questioning we should pursue.
Okay.
Because that might be, like what you mentioned in terms of other ordinances. So whether the committee can do some of the legwork to gather example towns that, or elements of town ordinances, and then, that would be kind of the key activity of PVPC would be to pull it all together and make it cohesive. Definitely seems like it's an important task. the observation is that as we have fewer and fewer sort of green field sites for development, it's going to be infill development and redevelopment. So I think it would be a good time to kind of go through the regulations and make sure that. So I just don't know that much, but I don't know that there are many towns that actually through the demo delay have the teeth that people like historic preservationists probably want teeth, but I don't know that the demo delays ever get teeth. I don't know that the ordinances ever have the amount of teeth that you would want.
There's some that have a year.
Okay, right.
Well, yeah, well, there's the one question is to extend it.
Right.
I think a year, and if there are other municipalities that have figured out the criteria that you want to see the applicants come back with,
Right.
Maybe that's where you can beef it up.
Well,
But I think that's where you need some technical assistance to kind of go through that process. Or you can do it as a committee,
Right.
but that takes time, just the nature of.
We got time.
We got time.
Pretty much, that's it. We don't have money, but we got time. Well, I was looking at a bunch of different cities, towns, and whatnot. The one thing that our demo delay does not ask for is any kind of materials, to bring with them.
Yeah.
Which, we had an example of that tonight where he's, well, I don't have
Didn't bring
anything.
anything.
So, okay, we can't really make a decision then. Boston actually asks for plans for the property after demolition. So they have, let's see, okay, they have maps, first plot plan, photographs, all four sides of the building, street views from each side. If there is no inventory specific to that building, an inventory would be done. And then, I don't have everything here, but this is something that Boston has top 10 tips for your Article 85 application. So it kind of tells them what that they should have and whatnot.
It sounds like some of that would be extremely useful, and I would temper the Boston approach a little bit, but because you may get an applicant who can come forward with like a pretty reasonable argument, and you don't want to put them through that rigorous of a process.
Yeah.
But if you have the initial determination, so the initial hearing, the Historic Commission may request, the following things.
Right.
So I think like the ability to request would be really key, because we have some people who that would be pretty burdensome to, if there is a structure that just happens to be old and not really clearly or not significant. So you would want to at least require or give yourselves the authority to request more.
Well,
when it seemed like you probably can come up with a couple examples.
Chances are, if we're going to have a public hearing, it's going to be because it's already determined significant.
Sure.
Because of at least age, one of the criteria. That's the other thing too, is actually spelling out what the criteria would be to, why is this significant? If it's inventoried, okay, that's one thing. And that, I believe, is in the demo regs.
Yeah.
But this is just something like, okay, like this guy's coming in with, I'm going to tear this down, and I got enough to show you at this point. How can you, although we're not really concerned with technically what they're going to put there, because it's not what we're looking at.
Right. I especially like the idea that if it isn't already part of an inventory, that one gets done, things like that.
Well, like I said, even with partial demos where you can actually go at least get some pictures, and now we have more of an inventory of what used to be there, because somewhere down the line, somebody might want to start looking this stuff up and go, oh, look at it. Oh, we got some pictures. Awesome. Really, like the house on Northampton Street, which you like to bring up, is a good case where they really only got the old one picture. They could have probably gotten more
And
if
it's
they
not in the inventory anymore.
No,
It's disappeared.
it's still on the online though. So,
You sure?
yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I looked at it not too long ago. Yeah, so, I mean, I was gonna have a little better idea of what I wanted to say here, but I didn't really get the time for it. You know, and if they're demoing it because it's a hazard, then they should actually, you know, explain why.
Yeah.
And backed up with some, you know, instead of like, well, it's old, it's fallen down, that's not quite enough. You know? But, I mean, there's not a whole lot out there as far as what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of hard, you know, cut and dried. This is what, you know, something historic. But the places that do have something posted, they're all pretty consistent across, you know, even national boundaries. This is from Manitoba. What makes a building historically significant? So, 4 areas: history, architecture, integrity, and the environment. And so, you know, okay, who were the original occupants and what did they do for a living? Who were the later occupants? Did an event of historical importance happen? Can a building be said to illustrate a historical theme or issue? Then when was the building constructed? Certain types of who designed the building? Did the designer use a style or tradition to create the design? Who constructed the building? What materials were used in the construction? Integrity, have there been changes made to the building? Was the building always fulfilled its present function? And then the environment, does the building look like any others in the environment? Is the building a local landmark? So they're kind of looking at the same things that, you know, like Boston looks at, or Georgia looks kind of the same thing: age, integrity, significance. And I think if we have it a little better defined, make our job easier when somebody comes in looking for a demo and whatnot. Anybody want to look at these? Make copies, yes.
Make copies, yeah.
Make copies.
I don't want to look at them now.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know, so there's quite a bit out there. It's just hard to find. And, you know, like, I think in the near future, we should come up with a little more ideas and bring it together.
Big framework, yeah.
Yeah. Can we copy this
Yeah, you can copy all that.
here?
Yeah, sure. I don't think he'll turn you in.
No.
He might, though. She wants to make copies.
I will now. I'm actually gonna excuse myself. I'm gonna work on my budget and actually coincidentally for a little bit. I will post that packet on the Historical Commission's webpage.
Okay, do you need it, or?
No, because I believe I got a copy of it in one of those emails.
Okay.
And then I'll just ask Jamie when she returns on, I think on Tuesday,
Yep.
to coordinate the site visit with the applicant.
Okay, that'd be perfect. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get some dates when we have some availability too.
Yep. So I'll just, if you can do that through Jamie, that would be better. Just 'cause I'm off next week, so I don't wanna.
Yeah, I'll send her an email as far as, you know, when we are available.
Yeah.
She can approach him with, and, you know, I think he'll probably be fairly easy to get hold of.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Great.
Right.
All right.
Good
Thank you.
luck
All right, thanks a lot for
Thank you.
everything.
Take care.
Okay, well, here, this is something here. This is from Colorado. They actually have a demolition permit evaluation request form.
Is that the applicant?
Uh-huh.
Is that the applicant? Or-
Yeah, it's basically an application reviews to encourage, when appropriate, the documentation of structures 50 years and older that are proposed for demolition.
Where did you come up with all this stuff?
Internet.
Oh.
It's an amazing resource.
Poppycock.
Well, you know, okay, so this one basically has your demolition site address, construction date, applicant name, phone number, email. Describe important architectural features and types of building materials used. Describe structural conditions, including the approximate percentage of the structure that's unaltered. Note alterations and or additions, describe architectural and or historical contexts, note whether or not historically significant persons or events were attached to the property. And then photographs attached, sketch or plot plan attached. You know, he was kind of saying, well, we don't want a burden on a lot of people. The lot doesn't have to be like a professionally rendered drawing of, you know, it's okay. This is, you can go on the Axis GIS site and pick out a parcel, you know, and make a copy of that and say, okay, we're taking this down and we're going to put this here. You know, I mean, that's kind of all we really need to know. And then so that we would intake this as part of the application process and go look at it, get the photos we need if we need to do a inventory sheet.
That's a good idea.
I mean, I think either we or Shannon or something like that would be able to handle that. And I think we'd be a lot
Cleaner.
and we'd probably be a lot better as far as on the legal grounds. you know,
We'd be
that-
equipped,
Yeah, we would, you know.
Yeah.
Bedford actually has, this was actually really good. And another thing they require is a sign on the property as it's, before it's being, I think before the public hearing, I believe.
To
Ooh,
post
that's a
something
really
that-
good
so-
idea.
So
Yeah.
neighbors all know and
The
everything.
sign must be posted 14 days before the public hearing, be located 5 feet or less from a public right-of-way, be size 24 by 36, laminated for all weather, and include all applicable legal notice and history information.
Wow.
A photograph of the sign posted shall be submitted to the commission. The sign must remain until the conclusion of the public hearing. Failure to comply with this requirement will result in a delay of the public meeting until the conditions are met.
Yeah, see there, that could result in a further delay
Right.
because they didn't fulfill that requirement. So that's a little bit of teeth.
That's proactive
Yeah.
too now. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And everybody would know about it because there's a sign saying we're intending to demolish.
Yeah, no sneaky peeks.
That's a really good idea.
What percentage of the, okay, see this here, it's got what percentage, this may be where I saw it. Okay, the commission, okay. What percentage of demolition work is allowed before review is required? And in its deliberations, the commission looks to National Park Service guidelines on the determination of historic integrity. Guidelines suggest that building's overall location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, feeling, and association bear its integrity. Change or removal of any of these elements may trigger a commission review. Complete removal is easily understood. Partial demolition is defined as being substantial in nature, would include the removal of more than 1/4 of an existing building.
That's where you got it.
Removal of a roof, for example, raising the overall height of the roof. Removal of one side of a building. Gutting of a building's interior to the point where the exterior features, windows, doors, walls, etc. are impacted. I like that, you know, I mean, it kind of gives us, you know, not like you're really gonna go out there and say, oh, wait, you can't do that. It's just that, okay, we really haven't got a good look at this. We may not even have an inventory, you know, just because it wasn't in downtown or whatever. And it gives us a chance to do the inventory
Yeah.
and get the pictures that you need
Yeah.
prior to them changing the whole look of it.
Right.
And when I was talking with Jamie about this stuff, I was like, well, you know, I mean, there's a case like where my whole house would have been, yeah, we would be looking at it and, you know, grabbing some photos and all, because they gutted it and they put a second story on it, basically. So, this is nice too. Flow chart. And also, we got, they also have this here, 2 pages.
Thanks for doing all that.
Yeah.
No problem. It's kind of like, yeah, the problem I have is like, you said, do these demo delay hearings and whatnot. what am I looking at when I go to on a site visit? What am I supposed to be looking at?
Right.
It's not how I really feel about should the place be torn down or not. It's more like, I mean, what within our in our scope of power that are we really want to look at?
Right.
Why is building significant? I mean, the building, number 9. I mean, I don't think she's right about the cable thing. I think that's wrong.
No. Because the Airy House never had a cable car.
Right. Yeah, they never
They
finished
had
that.
horses.
The,
brought people up
the structure was being put in place for cable cars, but it actually probably would have been closer to where I lived than to down there, number one. If you look out those windows up on top of the mountain, you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
It kind of came down almost, I think, right around where Norman Savoy had his house. Somewhere in that vicinity.
Well, and
That would have been cool.
he had horse and wagons
Yeah, that
that
would
went
have
up
been-
Christopher Clark Road.
He was in the process of building the cable car. That the stone structure that's up there is actually going to be the housing for that, And of course, the fire happened, and it just said, well, we're done. The property number 9, which isn't inventoried at all, so kind of interesting. I don't think the garage is that old. Obviously, it's over 50. But that's the old trolley line, Northampton Railway line that was built on that property. So, I mean, it's probably 30s or 40s when they built that garage, I would say. Also, another one is...
The owner, it's been sold already to them.
Yeah.
The previous owner was here.
Was that, yeah, that was that.
Jim Burns.
Surprised, he didn't say anything.
No, he didn't
What's the
say.
best thing right here? Over there?
Rough looking guy, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different resources out there. Too much to read, believe me.
What are you looking for now?
So, but yeah, you look at the properties, though, like I was saying, and is it significant? And maybe 50 plus years, maybe 100 years old. But if it's not unusual architecture, or it's just kind of the same. There's 15 other examples in the neighborhood or whatever. It's hard to make a case to keep it up,
Well, like you say, you want to have something that is more than just personal emotional response. You don't. The criteria, the official criteria is not ever going to be how does it make Mike feel, right? We need something that is solidly. The way I tend to put it to people is, well, if I get hit by a bus, what is the guideline for the person who comes along after me?
Right. Yeah.
Please don't.
I'll try not to.
The other thing too, in your neighborhood, the fact is that if 91 wasn't there, it would be a totally different story, because you have an integrity of the neighborhood, but that integrity is already kind of gone there, Well, I mean, it's not the village that it once was.
It might not be, but train track area is still right by there in the Oxbow, and that was a gateway into the city.
Yeah, I mean, there was a depot on the other side of the street, not in very good shape.
No, it was until they removed the road.
Yeah, and then they took it down, didn't they?
Yeah, because they moved the road.
But wouldn't that have been far enough off where they wouldn't have to worry about it?
No, because they straightened the road.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They
when that
went that way
corner
with
came
it. They
in,
went that
yeah.
way with it, not this way.
There was an antique shop at the end.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember when it was the bar, too.
Dorman's.
Dorman's Bar, yeah.
Yeah. And then there was Dorman's Delight, which was
Next door.
next door, which
You
was
came-
the first soft serve ice cream place around. It was
Would've been historically
semicircular,
significant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was built in the 50s, and Dorman's son built that, and it was the first soft serve around.
The,
Stone on the bottom and then glass.
yeah, it was early times.
Early times bar after it was Dorman's.
It was, well, it's empty
Oh, that
for,
was
it was empty
early
for a long
times.
time.
Yeah.
I would love to find the time to do like an ECAT program. I sometimes regret
Yeah.
I'm so busy, but
I don't know
I
if
think
there are any-
everybody would love to hear
I
reminiscences.
wish we had some pictures. I mean, I don't have any pictures of
I
that
don't think I
area.
have any pictures of that area.
And
That's the kind of thing that.
another reason why it's
There
important,
could be
you know.
people
Yeah.
here who do, yeah.
You know,
Pictures.
if you tear something down, you know, even, you know, if it's that property or whatever,
Yeah.
You know who
get
might
a
have
whole
pic-
picture of the whole area,
You
you
know
know, up
who,
and down the street.
Right.
you know who might have pictures of that? Remember Judy Erat?
No.
She lived, well, their house was torn down when 91 came through. She's in O'Donnell now, and the Dormans were her close relatives.
Oh.
And Judy and I are somehow related. But we were always running into each other at BD, and she's always telling me about pictures she has. And we keep saying we're gonna get together.
That'll help.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be cool if they actually had some pictures
Yeah.
of 91 going into.
Yeah, that would.
Oh, that was pretty impressive. You know, it's
Well,
funny now.
Dormans owned the house that your sister had.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah. Yeah,
After the Underwoods lost it.
right.
I was gonna say something. Oh, well. Yeah, anyways, like I said, we kind of need to get elements of some of this stuff just to make our job a little bit easier.
Easier.
And I think you walked out when we had the, see this one here, here's the other application. This is a nice one, this is a nice one here. So it basically gives, you know, all the documentation and whatnot. I wish I can remember where I was going with what I was gonna say. You know, I mean, other things we need to look at was like what was on the site. You know, like with the trolley right away. You know, it'd be good to take a look at the back of that property. That's probably a mess now, but probably, right? Yeah. Anyways, should we move on?
Let's move on, I just
Yeah.
have to go soon.
Stone building bathroom renovation. There may be a question and, you know, of a National Register application for that. So we'll probably be, you know, looking along those lines.
Okay.
They may have somebody do it for them, but we'll see. And then, so our next meeting will be March 11th. It's 6:45, I guess. And, while we're on the subject, when is good availability for everybody to do a site visit? It's not this
Guessing
weekend.
you guys will have to do it. If it's the weekend, I might be able to make it. If it's
We can do a weekend.
Weekend or,
Jamie won't be back till Tuesday, so we won't be in touch with that guy till after Tuesday.
Yeah, so like a Saturday or.
Saturday would be good for me, most Saturdays anyways.
Yeah, most Saturdays for me.
10 o'clock, noon time,
Sure.
11.
11?
I could do
Split-
earlier or later.
Not 11, though.
But, no, yeah, well, I'm actually supposed to be, well,
Well, it wouldn't be this weekend.
I probably.
oh,
could-
you're right, so then I guess,
Do it?
yeah,
What?
so yes.
If you could, like
It's Saturday
shoot me
class.
like photographs or something.
Yeah,
Cause like Saturdays, I'm always working every single Saturday.
And I have a Saturday morning class, so I'd say,
Well,
for me,
I mean-
it would be better
I
Saturday
mean, if
after
you want, if we can get maybe two different dates, and, you know, if somebody wants to go in the evening,
Yes.
and some people want to go on Saturday,
Yeah.
that's fine with me too.
Mhm.
If you want, take a look at your schedules, email me some dates, and I will forward that to Jamie. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because like I said, we got till at least Tuesday anyways, before, there's going to be any contact made with the applicant.
Okay.
All right? Perfect. Well, we're up to item number 15, and it's not midnight yet, so.
That's what I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
I was
Do
like,
we have
whoa.
do we have a motion to adjourn? Well, I'm looking at all this stuff, and I actually sent Jamie an email, said, I think this is gonna take till midnight, especially with the demo delay thing. If I had really organized it, it would have taken another, half hour.
Yeah.
Of course, the first agenda you sent, it wouldn't have taken any time.
Well, you know what I did? I sent the agenda to Barbara and a copy of Jamie just to take a look at it. So I did, because I was kind of wanting to get it done, and I figured if I sent it, it's at the clerk's office, it'll get posted. If I have to make any changes, can do that on Monday, And then I said, well, I have to send it to everybody at this point. So I started writing another email, and I just sent it out, and it was like, well, I didn't get it. Oh, yeah, okay. So I should just do them all at the same time.
Well,
Easier.
thank you for all your work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
And all of our,
You're welcome.
I'm gonna, if
I move we
make a-
adjourn.
Yeah.
I'll second that, and
All in favor?
and I'm gonna stop recording.
Night, everybody.